Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. We are going into our main topic, which is
visual considerations.
Yes. So, I want to say that this next block of topics that we're going to be talking about are considerations for sometimes handicapped or disabled people.
Well, yes, and it's also general considerations
Mhm.
for the visual elements of any role-playing game.
Yeah, we're kind of going through the a few of the senses. Today we're going about the visual stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Next time we'll be doing audio,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that it'll be tactile.
Yes.
But some of these things are going to overlap.
Yes.
Because when you're doing visual considerations, tactile could be relevant.
Right. So one of the things that we talk about here in RPG research is we'll, for example, take a look at certain books and how readable is it? Because some people have dyslexia.
Right.
Right.
And some people without dyslexia can find certain combinations of artwork and fonts to be unreadable.
Yeah. I wish we had it on us today, but there was one of our go-tos was there's a Dresden Files role playing game, and I know Dresden Files is really really popular. That book is unreadable.
And that means we mean that literally.
Yeah. They have artwork on artwork on artwork. They're messing with fonts and they're putting stuff in the backgrounds, and it is ultimately just very unreadable.
Yeah. It's almost as bad as the Arkham.
Oh yeah.
The DC Comics Arkham book, where it was designed to evoke the madness that was in there, but it was extremely hard to read.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't read just left to right. You read in circles or different, bouncing around the page.
Yeah.
And fonts that just were close to making things gibberish.
Yeah, it was kind of like if there's a joke in the metal scene where how illegible death metal band logos are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like trying to read everything in death metal.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've done is we've broken down some of the individual elements and what can be done on an individual level to make things more visually considerate.
So we're going to start with art.
Yes.
This is the artwork that you find in your games, whether that's illustrations, maps, or even the dice.
Yes. So one of the things when it comes to, for example, the books is, if you're having a picture, having it blocked off, so that you don't have text coming over, or I know that under, or there's an effect that I found interesting in third edition where they'd have an image, and then they'd have the text kind of curving along it, and that causes problems too. So if you have a different, it doesn't have to be just like here's a square that the image is going to be in, but just have it blocked off, and that makes it easier to read because you know where the image is and where the image isn't.
Right. Also, you're going to be looking at how the illustrations are of themselves, even if they're blocked off and not a problem with things. Is the image muddy?
Yeah.
Is it crisp and clean? Does it serve the style?
Yeah.
There's a big difference between Larry Elmore and anime style art.
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate both, but if you've got Larry Elmore in there, I've got a short list of Japanese artists that I'll be going to as a reference for their artwork. I certainly won't be pulling, for example, even Miyazaki. And I love Miyazaki, but him and Larry Elmore, not so much.
Well, they're not compatible with each other. I mean, even worse is if you look at Valio.
Valio?
He, great famous painter of illustrations. He did a bunch of Conan stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and it's not just a matter of, Western versus Eastern. I can take a look at, certain Western artists where, I mean, if I'm doing, who is it that did, not Dark Rider? Well, let's go with Conan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not necessarily going to have, um, I don't want to trash,
Okay, let's not trash, but be very accurate. You don't want a Disney illustrator.
Right. I wouldn't want something that, that is Disney. Disney has its own benefits, but it just doesn't match the aesthetics.
Right. Disney matches the aesthetics for what they do pretty darn well.
Yeah.
But when you start trying to get them into genres, then you have to get into things that are normally considered Disney, like Black Cauldron.
Yeah.
That was closer to the illustration styles that you found in The Last Unicorn.
Yeah. See, I could see, Black Cauldron and The Last Unicorn and see, for instance, Firechild, and all of those would work together, and some of those are Western, some of those are Eastern, some of them are a mix. But none of those I will put next to, for example, H.G. Geiger.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were talking about East versus West. Depending on the time period, let's say the Victorian and even the 1920s, you would see big difference between East Coast and West Coast art.
Yeah.
And of course,
well, East versus West as opposed to East Coast, West Coast in terms of.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that when you're looking at East versus West, it can be as much as East versus West on even a smaller scale.
It really depends on what you're trying to evoke, and sometimes you're just producing something. But we also have, speaking of visual considerations, Star Trek. Star Trek has a specific aesthetic that they're going for.
Yeah.
And what we found with one of their somewhat recent rule books is
Star Trek Adventures.
Star Trek Adventures. They treated their pages as if they were screens, and a lot of people watch their screens in dark mode. So the pages were in dark mode, and that was black pages with white text. And although we will talk later about having a high contrast, that was bad. That was hard to read.
Yeah. Some high contrast don't work in reverse.
Correct.
It should be dark on light, not light on dark.
Yeah.
So there's that. We're looking at the different illustrations. Does it fit the genre?
Yeah, does it fit not even the genre, the aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I was saying genre again, some of Disney's stuff works well with horror.
Yeah.
But most of it does not. And while Geiger, Escher, are good for horror, they're not good for a Disney cartoon.
Yeah. But,
although I can definitely see Daffy Duck going nuts in an Escher.
Yeah, well, he has before. Yeah. But if you're trying to, if you insert, for example, Daffy Duck into MC Escher, it is less horror now.
Yeah.
But if we're let's stick with Disney here, let's make it horror. I could absolutely see the Rescuers being in horror.
I can see the Rescuers, but I can't see the Goof Troop.
No. Goofy is, Goofy and the Goof Troop, I absolutely love them. They're better with your slice of life. The conflict is everyday life type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Goofy trying to save the world.
Or Goofy, a sci-fi Goofy. I mean, yes, you can do it, but
that'd be a one-off.
You're pushing out of the slice of life lane that he's supposed to be in. Now we're getting way a little bit off topic.
Yes, we are.
But let's talk about maps.
Yes.
Maps are a form of illustration.
Oh, geez, I have many bones to pick with maps.
Yeah, I mean, there's full-on professional cartographer.
Yes.
And there is drawing a rough outline on a piece of blank paper or lined paper of a thing. So, and there's a difference between maps for navigation.
Yes.
And maps for battle maps.
I would say that there's a couple of areas that maps need to fall into. And when you're making a map, you need to consider what is its use going to be. There is maps for navigation.
Yes.
Okay. You've got your battle maps, where you need to be able to see, for example, the squares.
Yeah. Well, here.
Yeah.
The squares.
The squares. There's also informational maps.
Right.
So back in 3rd edition, I honestly feel that was the best Forgotten Realms map I'd ever seen. It was so clean, and you could see where everything was, and it was easy to read. And then there's also, this is a map and its purpose, and this is a legitimate purpose. It's for aesthetics.
Right. Oh, so the Lord of the Rings Shire map is both navigational and aesthetics.
Yeah, you can mix and match them, but understand what the primary use is, and don't say like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice usability when usability is important for aesthetics.
Yeah. Well, again, back to the Lord of the Rings, the traditional Smog map is almost useless. Anything other than aesthetics and pointing out that big rock is where you're going.
Yeah, yeah. And I've had many conversations about making maps usable. For example, I've presented the idea of using hexes as leagues for tracking not just time but pace. That all gets into usability.
Yeah. Traditionally, as far as role-playing games are concerned, hex maps were for overland travel.
Yes.
Or over ocean travel. And grid maps were for battle maps or underground stuff. Your dungeons and things like that. So while a hex could be 6 miles long, or close to a league, the hex maps were meant to be between 1 and 20 feet per square.
Yeah.
So some of them weren't meant to be actually fought with maps and miniatures on them. You can adjust them, but you're going to go get a 36-inch plot printer to do so.
I believe I'm taking the blame for turning you on to printing those large maps. They're so useful though.
Oh, but it also saves me a lot of money because a black and white large plot print that I can use is better as far as expense is concerned and ease of use than printing out 48 color pages, cutting out the edges on some of them, and taping them all together to make one big map.
And the amount of money that you'd have to put in your swear jar because you're cursing that much.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I get to spend that later. Or my wife gets to spend that later. It doesn't. So, yeah, there's the different kinds of maps. I would love to see a map for navigation that looked more like a topographical map. Or more like an actual navigation, ocean navigation map.
A thought that I had, when it comes to navigation maps, and I've seen some real world ones where, let's say you've got especially when you're dealing with maps, you're talking about, time frame of travel. But let's say you've got, your navigation maps is primarily an ocean, for example. And instead of like, oh, there's a trail here, these are the shipping lanes. If you're sticking to the shipping lanes, the navigation DC's a lot easier. If you're trying to, say,
chart your own course,
chart your own course, it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, no, that's agreeable. But maps that, when I look at a map for an ocean game,
yeah,
it doesn't show, in the most part, doesn't show navigational routes.
Yeah.
At best, it will show the planned route for your adventure.
Yeah.
But it won't show the different lines, prevailing winds, or tide. There's a lot of information that gets left out that would normally be in a real navigational map.
Yeah, current trends, not by the current trends, but there are ocean currents. Where does it go?
Yeah, and the fact that there are, or how deep is it? Because a real navigational map will not only show you the currents, but it will show you what is navigatable by your boat.
Yeah.
Because you can see how deep it is, and you know that you need a 6-foot draw to get through. So other kind of maps that we have out there, we've mentioned topographical.
Yeah.
We've haven't mentioned architectural, but those are the typical dungeon maps.
Yeah, they are.
Or your mansion stuff. Those are typically considered those kind. But there are also maps that give you a 2.5 perspective of the map. So you can compare different levels.
Yeah, those are good for giving you an overall view of, for example, a castle that has multiple levels of how they're connected. Isometric maps, and that's the 2.5, are useful for that, but they're less useful for if you actually have to play on them.
Well, you don't play on an isometric map.
Yeah.
You do use it to tell you that this slopes down here. This is the difference in levels from the different caves. Now, you can do a cutout straight up and down, but that's not going to show you that this part is more north and that part's more east. It will show you, east and west. It won't show you north and south of the view, depending on how it was cut. And it won't show you that this room's over here and this room is down here, but closer to me.
Yeah. And then there's also the problem where if you're dealing with just, top down, flipping between the maps, like, oh, this room is just below the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can, I would use a combination of the isometric maps with battle maps.
Yeah. Kind of like having the isometric off to the side.
Right.
Now, our main topic being visual considerations. I don't want to just talk about maps.
No, I completely understand you. Yeah. But I did want to get into the difference between 3D maps, isometric maps, and overland maps, and the various kinds of maps that are going to be used in a role-playing game. And some of them are going to be really simple. Some of them are going to be super detailed. There used to be the tradition was that you got a map in a book and you were expected to draw that map.
Yeah.
And it was harder when they got fancy with some of their curves.
Yeah. Yeah. There are, as someone who's had to hand draw them, and I am no slouch with a pencil. Yeah. There's a problem sometimes. It's like, okay, that's a weird angle. No, just we're printing this now.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between drawing a rectangle.
Yeah.
or using a circle. One guy uses a lazy Susan.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in the middle of the lazy Susan, you're at melee range. If you're on the farther edges, which is basically what the One Ring role playing does.
Yeah.
It uses this abstract map, but it's good enough to tell relative distance from people.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have our super complex maps where I can tell a player, if you see it on the map, it's there in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a book there. It shows you every item in that room.
Yeah, and this is touching back into visual considerations. Those maps are really, really good for people with aphantasia.
Right, and we'll get more into aphantasia when we talk about considerations. To wrap up art, so we can get on to the rest of the considerations.
Yes.
Is dice.
Yeah.
Is your die big enough to read?
Mm-hmm.
Is the contrast on your die so that the numbers can be read? Is the battery dead? Did it finally? Oh, there it goes. Oh man,
it lights up.
It did light up. I think it's dead finally. No, I can't take this apart to replace the battery.
But I've got an example of a bad example here.
Oh yeah.
So I have this die. I have never used it, but I find it interesting.
Yeah.
This is a D20 and a D20. One of the reasons why I'm never going to use it is it's a pain to read both dice.
True.
The interior dice makes it harder to read the exterior dice, and the exterior dice makes it harder to read the interior dice. I'd rather just roll two separate D20s at the same time.
Well, one of the things is when you're looking at those, the piece inside is called an inclusion.
Yeah.
And some of these inclusions are in solid material. But the fact that you have basically a clear dice with an object on the inside makes it harder to read the actual numbers.
Yes.
So what you want is light colored dice with high contrast numbers.
Mm-hmm. That's a simple one. And we've got the pips here, but you can also have the numbers. We've talked about what is it? If you want to really challenge people to up their math, use the number ones, because it's like, oh, it's 5, plus 6, as opposed to
1,
counting
2, 3,
the
4,
pips.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
11. So
now, one last thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to art, and this is going to segue us into, for example, text, is background art on pages.
Right.
Yeah.
That's going to mess with your font. When you got a bizarre font on a bizarre multicolored and maybe a lot of different curving lines on it.
Yeah.
That's hard to read.
Yeah.
When you're looking at any overlap between text and things, that's going to be hard. So when we look at books and modules, we have to consider those fonts.
Yeah.
Now, technically, when we were talking about the dice, we're also talking about the font.
Yes.
My son has white dice, red letters, but they're in Japanese.
Ooh, it's not my native language, but that's going to be a nightmare to read.
I do think it's going to be a nightmare to read if you can read Japanese.
Yeah, but I can't read Japanese.
Yeah.
But one thing that, before we move on, when I was talking about the artwork behind text, I'm using, for example, as well, and this is a very common thing, and I've done it and I've had to move away from it to a certain degree, is let's say I want to make it look like, because we're doing a certain aesthetic, a papyrus type texture behind the text. That texture, which is now considered art, that can mess with your ability to read it as well. So one of the things I've found is if I'm doing that, I will have that on the outside, in the bleed area, if you're using the technical terms. And as I move in, actually quite quickly,
it gets lighter and lighter.
I want it to fade it out into a flat color, so that you're still just reading text on a flat color.
Right. Because the texture can cause problems. It's less of a problem than illustrations behind the thing.
But it can still cause problems.
I have definitely seen some textured paper, like what is the one that's woven?
Oh, there's canvas. There's weave.
A weave was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a weave, even trying to write on weave is a challenge.
Yes.
But to read on weave is going to make it very hard from people.
Mm-hmm. Now, I said that we were going to move past the text. Well, not the text, the artwork. Even you mentioned font.
Right.
One of the things that we found with the people with, for example, dyslexia, is having serifs on your fonts. And this is just choosing your fonts now. Having serifs makes it harder to read.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you want to be using sans serifs, and you want to be using a size that is readable by most people.
Right.
Which is 12.
So I'll give it
12 pica versus a 24 pica, which is huge, or a 10 to 8 pica, which gets harder and harder. 10 is okay for college students.
Yeah.
8 is not okay for most people.
Yeah.
That's called fine print.
Yes, it is. I used 8 when I was trying to save on a paper and I needed to print out my video game information for my when I was playing video games. But
I'll use 8 when the space I have to put the information is smaller than the amount of information I have to put into it.
Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar with what serifs are, I'll give you an example. Times New Roman uses serifs.
Right.
Whereas I think Courier does not.
And Arial does not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's those little for example, if you have a T is normally like this, but when you have the little thing right here, that's the serifs.
Right. The little flares at the end are the serifs.
And when we say sans serifs, it means without those serifs.
Correct.
So there's that.
And then in books and modules, which was the fonts, getting the right size font, getting simple fonts as opposed to the handwriting font.
I love this, but I'm not going to be
writing your entire book.
I'm not running my my reading. I'm not printing my entire book in something like that.
Right. Now, the other visual consideration, and it's actually a legal consideration, is the difference between a book and a module.
Yeah.
And you could have the same material in a magazine fold as you would do in a bound book like thing, and it will matter on a legal point of ground. But it also matters for the presentation of your work. Modules actually work better in the larger magazine format.
Yeah.
As opposed to the book or even mini book format. Our Dungeon Crate typically send out as modules in mini book format.
Yeah.
It is still kind of magazine because it's staples in the middle, but it's still book in the dimensions.
Yeah. So that would be considered, even if a book in dimensions, because it's ultimately, when it comes to the difference between a book and a module, it's a binding.
Right.
Yeah.
But the dimensions, you can have stapled centers and still be a book. Or booklet.
Yeah.
But the larger 8.5 by 11 page means you can use a larger font. You can have clearer maps.
Yeah.
And you're not crunching everything in.
Yeah.
So those are some of the visual. Let's talk about graphic design, which is your specialty.
Yes. Well, yeah. I've had to make my fair share of character sheets,
Yes.
and I've found. Well, I'll use this as an example. It's right here. Okay. This is the character sheet for Dungeons and Dragons.
Specifically, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition.
There are issues that I have with it.
Yes.
Yeah. If you have to write on this, people have different size handwriting.
Yeah.
And it isn't always easy to write. For example, if I have to write down, for example, my feats, I may be able to write down the names of them. I can't necessarily write the rules.
The best I can do on a lot of these character sheets is write the name of the feat and the page reference.
Right. And we have, for example, right here, the skills. I don't feel like I have enough space to write down what my bonus is on them.
Well, if you write in a small enough font.
Right. With this, I'm actually considering now what pencil am I using, because I can't use a standard number 2 pencil.
No,
I would have to use a mechanical pencil.
0.07 mechanical.
Right. To maintain the fine...
Yeah, 0.05 will do, but you really want a 0.7.
But not only that, but because the reason why I say mechanical is it needs to be able to maintain that level of fineness. If you're dealing with a standard pencil, it's going to round out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, but if you're dealing with especially new people, new players, or young players, I would kind of want to color code this as well.
Well, and there are color-coded, and there are special ones for people that are dyslexic.
Yeah.
And there are people who make a living doing artistic character sheets where the art is almost more important than the material.
Oh, yeah, and I've seen some of them. Some of them are absolutely beautiful.
Does it decrease the usability?
At times, that really is a testament to the skill of the artist.
And their graphic design knowledge.
Well, that's why I said skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some where like, that is absolutely beautiful. I will never be able to use it. I've also seen some where like, well, that is actually really, really beautiful, and I think I may actually be able to use that.
Yeah, and that does make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Hold that up again.
Sure.
You can see why I typed out character sheet.
Yes.
I can put a lot more information. Unfortunately, that is an 8, if not 6 font. 6 pica.
Mm-hmm. One of the other things that, and this is an example, I'm not just going to bash this design, is we have this shield symbol right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's my armor class.
Well, and another good one is that's your armor class, and then your health
hit points would be a heart.
Right.
Yes.
Your initiative may be a boot or a shoot for speed.
I wouldn't, because you want more simplified shapes, and the boot tends to look weird. For initiative, what simple shape? I was thinking star, but no. You know what I'd do?
Start again.
A trapezoid, where equilateral, but make it angled.
Yeah.
So that it feels like motion.
Okay, I can see that.
I'd do that.
So, pop quiz.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What's the difference? And I know you're going to get this right because I've taught it to you enough.
Okay.
What's the difference between a prop and a handout?
Okay. A prop is usable in the game and is sometimes a representation of what is actually in the game, and a handout doesn't necessarily have to be indicative of it.
Right.
So, for example, I could print out the letter so that you can read it. That's not necessarily the prop, but if I take that letter and make it fancy and use a specific font and then roll it up and put a wax seal on it, now that's a prop. And you can actually read the prop.
It's, as you're saying, is it usable in the game?
Mm-hmm.
But I think you should clarify, is it usable by the player character?
Yes, that's what I meant.
Would this be something that the player character would physically pick up?
Yeah. Is it a physical representation of what the characters would see?
Right. And handouts could be things, this is what you know,
Mm-hmm.
or descriptors. They could be just the content of the letter without looking like a real letter, and those kind of things. And those are all visual concepts that you need to go through.
Yeah.
But I think for the sake of time, the fact that we're distinguishing handouts from props and their visual elements is enough for this part. Let's talk more about the considerations and accommodations.
Yes.
Okay, what is dyslexia?
Dyslexia is a I don't quote me on the medical terminology here, but I've understood it as a disability ranging in severity where sometimes either letters or entire words flip in the mind while trying to read it, and it makes reading very difficult at times.
Well, it goes beyond that because it's letters, numbers, and the common version for numbers is the numbers aren't in the right order.
Yeah.
But the problems with letters and things like that is they may not just be out of order. They could be inverted.
Yeah.
Squiggly when they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Your visual perception. A good example of dyslexia is some of the early episodes of it's a detective show.
Okay.
He's on the GBI, the Georgia Bureau's of Will.
Will.
Yeah. So the show is called Will,
mm-hmm.
and the main character is dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
And there are occasional visual examples of what he's seeing when he attempts to read.
Yeah.
There was more in the beginning, but they still show up once in a while, just to remind you that he's dyslexic.
Yeah. And I've actually found that it isn't just reading. I have incredibly mild dyslexia, and it shows up a lot when I'm talking. So a lot of times I will jokingly, pronounce dyslexia as dyslexia.
Yeah.
Because it's dyslexia pronounced dyslexically.
Right.
Yes. I know that Danielle has it way worse than me, though.
Right.
Yeah, when I say mild, it's not debilitating at all for me. There
is a dyslexia font that actually isn't as good as other fonts.
Yeah, this is one of the things that we found where some of those dyslexic-specific fonts, they may work for certain forms of dyslexia, but not for others.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that we get into the font considerations. We also, that's where the nice symbols work for, if I can visually see that is strength,
yes,
and I can visually see that's armor class, it helps a lot.
Yes.
Also, as you said earlier, color coding helps. If I know the blue numbers are health, or my blue numbers are mana, or whatever, then that's one of the things. So that's one of the places we need considerations. Aphantasia, what's that?
Okay, aphantasia is your ability to picture something in your mind. It like dyslexia and so many other things is on a range where some people, when they visualize things, it is very, very rudimentary. Some of them can't picture color. Some of them can't picture anything. And I don't have this issue. I have incredibly vibrant visuals in my head.
Right.
And this isn't because I'm an artist. I've seen artists who have aphantasia.
Yeah. For example, I dream in color.
Yes.
I can close my eyes and picture a pretty realistic apple.
Yes.
Other people might just get a reference of apple, like the vaguest of shapes and color.
Yeah.
Or they won't have any color at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't make them colorblind.
Yeah.
It's just that they can't close their eyes and visualize that color.
Now, when it comes to dealing with the players that have aphantasia, whether they realize it or not, some people, the concept of aphantasia is new, although they've been living with it their entire life. We've found a couple of things that work. One, maps and minis. All the more reason to use them. Helps people with aphantasia.
Yes.
Also, because I've said before, I like using Theater of the Mind. Theater of the Mind is particularly hard on people with aphantasia. So one of the things that we've found is if in descriptions you don't limit it to site-based descriptions, that helps them a lot too.
One of my personal problems that is, I think, related to aphantasia, but it's not really. I have problems in my head visualizing distance.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I have a problem with that as well. I don't know how yours works, but if you tell me, oh, that is, and then you say 15 feet, I can't picture 15 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
I can do a cartoon version. I got a person here, a line with the number 15.
Yeah.
But I don't really understand how far that is in my head. Now, when I got a graph paper and I put the miniatures down, I know how far they are.
Exactly. This is also one of the reasons why I'm an advocate for, with the, going back to the maps, using leagues. Because once you get the definition of league is how far you can walk in an hour. You're not trying to picture how many miles is that? How long is a mile? I don't know how to picture a mile in real life. I can't.
Yeah, because unless you're looking at something that is a flat 1 mile with a marker here and a marker there, you can't. Hills go up and down and things curve, and it changes your thing. Now we got to get quickly into visually impaired.
Yes.
Now, whether or not it's corrected through bifocals like I have,
or you're legally blind like me.
Well, without the glasses, I'm legally blind.
Same here.
Yeah. If you look at the people that's visually impaired, but that also can scale all the way to blind.
Yes.
And you're like, well, how do I do visual considerations for blind? Well, we got Braille.
Yeah.
We can do
large print font.
Well, depending on this, but if you're completely blind, you also can do your maps textured. I've seen people do it with glued string.
Text readers. Text readers.
Text readers. I've also seen people. We have a dungeon set, a thing for create our dungeons and stuff, and they're 1-inch grid squares that you physically can feel.
Yes.
And then you put the walls up. Now the walls tend to be thick because they're 1-inch thick walls, but maybe they'll come up with some thinner walls in the future. But you can now do elevation.
Yeah.
Kind of building this like Lego blocks. You can feel them. And more importantly, I can put these tiles down that represent different surfaces. Yeah. I have a visually different surface for sand, water, lava, broken earth, just dirt, and for concrete, all these kind of different, or stone, and they have all different visual looks, but they actually have physical textures. So if I take a blind person, I rub them over this one, I say, that's sand.
Yeah.
And this is water.
They can explore with their hands. They
can look at the entire map with the minis and understand how everything goes together. And I think that's a wonderful device.
Yeah.
So
one thing I wanted to wrap up with, because
Yes,
we're talking
please
about
do.
blind, is I wanted to bring up the Dots RPG program.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
They make Braille dice.
Mm-hmm.
There are companies that make Braille labels for, like, you have cards,
Mm-hmm.
and there are sleeves that go over the card that have the Braille information of what's on the card.
Right. Now, I do want to mention, I don't know if Hawk is still with them, but Hawk is or at least was, part of Dots RPG.
Yeah, he was on the board.
Yes.
Whether he's currently on the board or he's inactive on the board, I can't tell you.
But I do want to say that we've tested them before, and one of the things that we found is with Dots RPG, and there is some way around it, is if you've got dice, and what Dots RPG is, they'll take, for example, dice, and they'll put Braille numbers on the dice.
Actually, they're letters.
They're letters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Braille numbers, I'm not sure the reason, but they use Braille letters for each of the numbers. A equals 1,
Okay.
B equals 2.
This is a language consideration, but one of the things that we found is I could have a Braille dice. Well, I don't speak Braille. How do I know that my blind player isn't cheating?
Trust.
There is trust, but there's also you can have Braille dice that have both.
Right, you can have ones that have both, or you can learn to read Braille.
Yeah, there is that too.
Not to make fun of you, but you can't speak Braille.
I feel like if I could, it would sound like I'm speaking binary.
Yeah. That's Morse code. Okay.
Yes. So, I wish we had more time to go into it, because there's so much you can get into. But yeah, there's a lot that you can think of when you think of some of the the handicaps that people may have when it comes to visual, or just not necessarily having a disability when it comes to having vision, but well, sometimes bad design is bad design.
Right. I think that we can in the future, because we're getting real close, that we need to come up with another 36 months worth of topics.
Yes, we do.
We can do some specific diagnosis or groups and the accommodations for that group.
Yeah, I feel like going through what is it? Examples of, like, we've got because we've actually dealt with them before, muscular dystrophy. Right. Using that as an example, and while we're dealing with this, how did we accommodate for that?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And I do want, hopefully we'll have access to our storage sheds by then.
I hope so.
So that we can bring you actual samples to see of Braille dice, finger holders, the different things that we use to accommodate other people.
And one of the things that I'm actually particularly happy about is, I feel like there's a stigma of when you're being accommodating, it feels like it's not fun. Well, some of these, like, geez, I would like to use that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have had, I've met blind people that cannot read Braille, but they can read if they rub the paper on their nose.
Interesting. So, that was our main topic. We're going into traps and riddles next?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you anything.
Okay.
I usually give you a hint at this point. But
mind you, I will give myself a hint. The pattern has been that the very last one is a culmination and references all the ones that we've done before, and this one, the pattern has been all of them are numbered.
Correct. And you were getting numbered discs at the end of each one.
Yes.
So
after these messages, we'll be right back.